within months, Putin rolled into Ukraine thinking this will all be over very quickly, and the Western world haven't got the stomach for the fight. So it isn't just about the Ukrainian people, as vital as that is. I mean, I've been to Ukraine 5 times this year already, but you've got to look at the whole strategic impact across the world. I mean, weakness is provocative, as the great Don Rumsfeld once said. I mean, the way to prevent conflicts and have peace is through deterrence and strength. And I think any concession, if Putin can masquerade any progress or victory or benefit from what he's done, that would be calamitous.
Just tell us a bit about this visit, what you're hoping to achieve.
Well, what we're looking to do is to meet with fellow Conservative, Republican congresspeople and senators and have a discussion. And actually, we're looking to Trump-leaning potential supporters in particular and have a discussion about what we need to do to support Ukraine in the following months and longer potentially, with a view that there's an election in the States next year. There may be a change of administration. So just to sort of reinforce the message about how vital it is for all of us to keep supporting the Ukrainians. I mean, we're not looking to interfere in the American political process. I mean, who the Americans vote for next year is their own business, but we're looking to have conversations with fellow Conservatives, if you like, in the broadest sense, to talk about how important their support for Ukraine will be or could be.
And I'll come back to that point of how they could help to ensure that the military supplies and other aid does continue to flow to Ukraine. But you say you're not here to interfere in the US political process. Liz Truss, in her article in the Wall Street Journal, has said she hopes a Republican will be returned to the White House in 2024. I mean, that sounds like a pretty clear message of who she wants to see in control after the elections of next year.
Well, this may sound a bit clear, but I haven't read that article yet, and that's not where I'm coming from. I mean, we're meeting fellow Conservatives. It's a delegation organised by Conservative Friends of Ukraine. We've done a lot of work, and we're hoping for some great successes and some really useful conversations. But, as I say, as far as I'm concerned, and I think Conservative Friends of Ukraine generally, we don't interfere with the American political process. It's not a matter for us. But clearly, we're a conservative organisation. We want to talk to other Conservatives, with a view that there is an election next year and there could be a change of administration. That's democracy.
And we've had this delay in the release of more military hardware and funds for Ukraine. Has that now been resolved with the new leadership that there is in the US House of Representatives? Are military supplies now beginning to flow to Ukraine again?
Well, I mean, I haven't. First day of the delegation, we're beginning to have the conversations, a lot of substantive ones over the next 2 or 3 days. I would be very surprised if there was any particular long-term disruption or delay with the supplies. And there's a vote in the next few days, I think in the next week or so, a Senate vote, which I think will underline the need to continue to support the Ukrainians and do more, actually, if we possibly can, or if they possibly can.
But there have been reports, haven't there, that both the United States and Germany have been putting pressure on Ukraine behind the scenes to say, look, you've got to consider some kind of peace settlement with Russia.
Well, I'm not sure that's correct. I mean, that's rumour and conjecture. I mean, we're going to make the case quite clearly that if you want peace and security, you have to have a deterrent and you have to be strong and robust. And I think if we give any inkling that Putin's gained an inch of territory by his aggression, then not only would that be a disaster for the Ukrainian people, and I think the credibility of NATO as a whole and the Western alliance, I think you'll see across the world people who, let's just say, don't have our best interests at heart, taking encouragement from that. I mean, you only have to look at what happened when we disgracefully abandoned Afghanistan. I mean, within months, Putin rolled into Ukraine thinking this will all be over very quickly, and the Western world haven't got the stomach for the fight. So it isn't just about the Ukrainian people, as vital as that is. I mean, I've been to Ukraine 5 times this year already. But you've got to look at the whole strategic impact across the world. I mean, weakness is provocative, as the great Don Rumsfeld once said. I mean, the way to prevent conflicts and have peace is through deterrence and strength. And I think any concession, if Putin can masquerade any progress or victory or benefit from what he's done, that would be calamitous.
But how much concern do you think there is in Ukraine that at the moment, for understandable reasons, the focus of the US and many of Ukraine's traditional allies has been on the Middle East after the Hamas attacks of October the 7th, the ongoing fighting, the hostages and so on. There is a real concern, isn't there, in Ukraine that their war is being forgotten?
Well, I don't know about forgotten. I think we're all looking at, I mean, Biden couldn't have hoped for more as far as not Biden, Putin, for a distraction as far as, the eyes of the Western world and the media are obviously focused on the terrible events of what is happening in the Middle East. And you can understand why the Ukrainians would be nervous of that. But I think in reality, I don't think there's been any diminution in the support of the Western Alliance, America, the UK. I think we realise that both things are of equal importance as far as the fight against tyranny, the fight against evil, really.
And you're going to be talking to more Republicans in the next few days. I mean, Donald Trump, who is way out in front as the most likely Republican candidate next year, has talked about settling the Ukraine war in a matter of days. How concerned are you that a future Trump presidency could lead to a loss of the sort of support which has been absolutely crucial to Ukrainian forces until now?
Well, this isn't about who gets the nomination and, rhetoric versus reality. But obviously we are here because we see that there potentially could be a situation where if there were a new administration in the United States, there are some members of the Republican Party who aren't quite publicly as enthusiastic as we'd like them to be. And we're trying to, drill down through all that. We know they have primaries, there's an election coming, but we want to have a sensible discussion about the reality as far as Ukraine, the Middle East, Taiwan, and how all these things are linked and vitally important to not only, the Western world as a whole, I think America too.
And just finally, I mean, are you confident that with all the other issues that he's got on his plate, Rishi Sunak is sufficiently focused on the need to continue to support Ukraine?
Well, I was lucky enough to catch the Speaker's eye last week at PMQs and asked the Prime Minister to reiterate our support for the Ukrainian people, and I was delighted to hear the Prime Minister say, absolutely, we stand with Ukraine, we support Ukraine, and we'll do whatever it takes for as long as it takes.
Jack Lopresti, good to speak to you. Thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Thank you.